Well, welcome to another edition of the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. I've come down with a lurgy this week, so I'm doing it from the front garden. I'm doing it remotely, but as always, you know, the show must go on and technology is our best friend. So I'm Mick, the game caller Gledel. Good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. And we've got Craig and Joe at Show Me the Money HQ in North Yorkshire. So from West Yorkshire to North Yorkshire, how the devil are you doing, Craig and Joe?
Do you know what, Mick? We've just done about, we're missing you terribly, by the way. And the new tops, Mick, I've actually got yours on because Mary's Sam's got his on. I actually went training last night in mine, so I've managed to pinch yours. Mary got it all ready for you, Jimmy Mack. So we've got our own tops. We're going to have our own uniform. And hopefully you get well soon, Mick. You look very well in the Garden of, it looks like the Garden of Eden there. Just to help your mum out, Mick, do a bit of the leaf, son, and a bit of the old stuff behind you, son. But have you got a new hairstyle on today, Mick? I'm looking at your hair, and it looks a bit different. Have you had an haircut? Have you put some back to black in? Look, your hair looks darker.
Nothing, Craig. Nothing. I think it's because I've had the woolly hat on. To be fair, but yeah.
Is it me? Or does Mick look a bit younger than usual?
Looks good, doesn't he?
Mick, you looking.
I look what?
You look good.
You look a lot younger. You've got a bit of panache to your face. Yeah, you something's suiting you there.
Can I just say, Craig? I'm only 33, so I'm not going for the coffin yet. What are you laughing at? Don't, because I've been coughing phlegm up all week. I've got the lurgy. But listen, I'll take any compliments. There you go.
There you go, Michael. You're on.
So, yes, it's the full 80 minutes. We're going to try and give you a bit of a Christmas special. Hopefully everybody's fine and well for Christmas. It is the time of giving presents, receiving presents, and obviously spending time with family and friends. We're going to start the show with questions and comments from last week. So I'm in the garden. I've no pen or paper. You lovely people, Craig and Joe, have got the comments there. Let's hit the ground running and let's do some questions and comments to start the show.
Go on then, Joe. Joe, you start us off. Joe will ask us and get the name of the person, Joe, and read it out. Oh, that's brilliant.
I'm just picking. I'll pick Rommel Saint. He always finds a way to slaughter. I think he always finds a way to jot one in me. Fair play, Rommel. I'm sure there's plenty to get me on. But he said smaller towns like Cass and Wakey are not going to get lots of hits on website due to population. Leeds and Hull are big cities and have more fans. I think he's talking about obviously the social media we did last
YouTube thing,
yeah, social media, YouTube he said website as well. So Mick, I think that goes on to the grading. Obviously, how strong, because it is a smaller town, does that get graded against a city that is Leeds, the big cities like Leeds and Hull?
Well, the data aspect of the criteria, which we discussed last week, they're not going to take into account if you're a big city or a little town. Ultimately, it's the data which is going to give you X amount of grading points. We have a situation where, as I was speaking to a number of Championship and Super League chairmen, there's going to have to be a certain level. Hey, up, you can see the cat in the background. Sorry. There's going to be the cat's made an appearance. There you go, wherever you've gone. But yeah, there's going to have to be a certain cut-off point in terms of you'll get this amount of points for this many website hits for this amount of data. Otherwise, what are you grading against? So you're not going to be penalised for being a town. You'll be penalised. Sorry, you're not going to be penalised for being a town or a city. You'll be penalised for your data. And it's interesting. On the back of last week's show, which I thought was interesting because it clearly shows we've got our finger on the pulse. I'm not sure if you bought Rugby League Express, but they had the data, the social media numbers from all the clubs. And another website has done exactly the same, what we've done. The Championship data for return on investment is interesting because your top two are Widnes and Bradford. And in the case of Bradford, in terms of like the Our League and the numbers that they attract from broadcasters, they actually beat 3 current Super League clubs. So I think what is going to ultimately happen with
Wow.
when this grading comes out is if you are a big club and you have a large fan base, regardless if you're a town or a city, because Castleford is a town and, you know, they regularly get 7, 8, sometimes 9, 10,000 in at the Jungle, you know, so they're not going to be unfairly penalised in terms of the crowds. But yes, you're right, Joe. It goes out saying if you're a Leeds or a St Helens, a Wigan, or in the case of a Championship club, a Widnes or a Bradford, with an historic large fan base, you are going to score more points and fare better than, say, a Huddersfield, a Salford, or a Wakefield, or a Lee. Because those are the 4 clubs currently bottom of that Super League table in terms of the data. Huddersfield, Wakefield, Salford and Lee. But again,
do you know what?
I was going to say, Craig, data is just one of the pillars. You know, there's governance. There's potentially going to be geographical location frauding. There's crowds, attendances. So, you know, whilst one club might fare better than most in the data aspect, you know, that they might let themselves down in the governance or the crowds. But listen, it's exciting times. And when all this comes out in February, like I say, you know, I said it last week, I think the shit will hit the fan because clubs will know exactly where they are in terms of, you know, their grading criteria and where they need to improve.
I'm sorry, Joe. Mick, you know what? I spoke to a chairman last week, Super League chairman, yesterday, and he said to me, give me some news on the Championship. You know, who do you think will win it? It looks so open. And I talked about, I didn't think a lot of clubs were pulling any triggers, pretty safe, that because of the ING and they were trying to protect the businesses other than win, you know, bust or boom sort of thing. And I said, I think that's caused a little bit of a lull, especially in our recruitment of players. And he found that shocking. He said, I don't get you. He said, surely if a club from the Championship gets promotion, when he applies for the licensing, he will have a better chance if he's in Super League than he's not. So why, he said, why would they not go for it? I said, well, that's because I think it's been sold, not ongoing. I think if somebody came out and said, well, if you go for it and you get promotion, you are going to be voted well up when they apply because you're in Super League already.
I agree, Craig. And they have been told, the Championship clubs, if you finish in that top 4, then that will actually count in terms of the grading for on-field performances. So, you know, the Championship clubs know, Craig, if they get in that top 4, then that's worth that little bit more, which, you
Mick,
know, is probably why.
Haven't they only just said that, though? I think they've only just recently, they never said that originally, did they? I think they've chucked that in the last couple of weeks.
Yes. So again, there's a lot of frustrated Championship and League One owners and chair people and CEOs, and I've communicated this with the RFL. And you know, to be fair to Ralph Rimmer and the RFL, Ralph's still in position till New Year's Day. Oh, by the way, I got a lovely invite from someone at the RFL. Ralph's having a party in February, so I'm invited to Ralph's leaving do. So listen, look, I'm
how come you've made it and I haven't? How come? Is it because you?
How's Mick made
Craig, you can come as my plus one.
I never get an invitation that you managed to get to them all. You put booting of it years and I've stayed off it. Where that fucker out there? Sorry.
Yeah, listen. But no, Craig. No, that's in February. I don't know if there'll be a free bar. Heaven help me if there is, but no. Listen, look, when we go back to what IMG said originally, Joe, you're right. They never said about finishing in the top 4. That's a caveat that has developed in the past few weeks, because quite rightly, Championship clubs and League One clubs are saying, well, 2023 on the face of it is a fallow year. You know, what are we playing for? Because the grading is going to come in. And I spoke to Featherstone owner Mark Campbell at the weekend, and Mark's under no illusions, you know, just how ridiculous and unfair this situation is, because, you know, he genuinely believes Featherstone are going to do it on the field, and at the 4th or 5th time of trying, they're going to win promotion this year. So Featherstone go up at the end of 23, then the grading comes out in 24, and as we discussed last week on the show, you know, you've got 18 clubs for 12 spots. We know there's 4 A's. The rest of them are going to be B's, strong B's, medium Bs, lower Bs. And there's a chance, hypothetically, Featherstone go up this year and then they're straight back out. It's unbelievable that we're allowing this, because it just does not make sense. And the more I think about it, and I can't wait for the next IMG media briefing, because I'm looking at the face of it, what has actually changed? What has actually changed? Because back in 2017, 2018, there was a number of championship chairmen, Andrew Chalmers, John Flatman at York, Mark Campbell, Kevin Nichols, Mark Sawyer, Dave Grayson at Halifax. They all got together at Odsal and they released that damning statement about the Robert Elston split. And again, people are quite rightly saying now, we've got a situation where what have actually IMG done? Because they're going to change Super League to something else. They're going to change the championship name. Apart from that, the onus is on the clubs improving, but, we're giving an equitable stake in the sport for something that me or you could have done, Craig. I know IMG have the expertise with the broadcasters, and fingers crossed and touch wood, I'm sat on the bench in the garden, there is a TV deal which is worth a hell of a lot more than what we're currently on. But a lot of the Championship and League One chairmen, they're getting a little bit fidgety. And quite rightly, when you did the show a couple of weeks back, they're asking, where exactly are IMG in terms of this leadership and direction? Yes, it's a 12-year partnership. Things aren't going to change overnight. But I genuinely thought, Craig, we would hit the ground running. We cannot afford a fallow year. We cannot afford a year where we have a dummy run. That's just my gut feeling. And the worry is, on the back of the season ticket sales down across the sport, the fans are picking that up as well. But look, like I say, Craig, you're quite right. This top four, the top four only just come out at the last meeting. That now kind of is a call to arms, and you're seeing it. Halifax, I'm led to believe, with Joe Martin retiring, they've got another big one. We know Bradford have still got two to come from Super League. We know Keighley is still on the lookout. There's a lot of exciting signings. Featherstone have still got a big one, according to Mark, on the back of the Poppy New Guinea announcement.
Say that, Mick, can't
so
we?
The clubs are going to slowly start pulling the trigger, but I think it's going to be January. It's going to be January before these players come.
Yeah, I think we can say that, Mick. Obviously, on our side of things, it's picked up again in the last week or so, obviously, since that announcement. So it's a interesting one. It's obviously incentivised a lot of the teams who think they've got a shot at it to go for it a bit more. I've had more phone calls in the last week than I have from the championship clubs than I pretty much have at any other point. I think it's all busied up again, obviously, on the back of what they've said. But if we...
Yep. Mick, are you there? Getting a delayed Mick now at the moment. He's looking like he's about 20 seconds behind us at the moment.
I'm here, yes. I'm listening intently. The weather's turning a little bit worse here in Bradford, but...
Yeah, you can tell.
I can hear you. I'm here.
Yeah, we've lost you a bit there, Mickey boy. But anyway, we'll carry on. We've got...
I'm here. I can hear you. No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
He's not getting that. He's 30 seconds behind, is he?
He's not getting it. So, great show, lads. This is from Brendan Gardner. Great show, lads. Quick question for next week's show. Do you see a 2023 as a potential trial breakout there for the younger ones at Cass, such as Kieran Hudson's, Quericus and Kane Robb? Probably got that one wrong.
It means Gary, doesn't
it? For me, it seems like the perfect time to bring them in as our squad. There's a lot of players that will probably retire within the next 5 years. Did you get that, Mick?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So I'll go first on this.
Yeah.
I'll go first on this. He's answer Brendan, I think, or Brandon. Brandon, I think that, it has to be a breakout year for the youngsters. I think it has to. Some of them young players at Cass have got to come through. I think they've recruited top heavy. They've recruited a few young lads in from UKR and Hull, but I still think me and along with the lad we've got, Hugo. I think these lads have got to come through. It's essential for Cass that they show the people at Cass that there is some youth development going off, that there is things going on behind the scenes to develop the club like it did in 15, 16, 17. In answer to your question, they have got to. It's not even a breakout year now. Kieran's probably 21. I think Kane Rob played some games last year. Gary played some games last year. So these lads just need to maintain and improve and show the people at Cast that there is a young vibe. As I say, so in answer to your question, 100% yes.
Yeah, I'd be very, just following up from that, I'd be very surprised if Gary doesn't get one of the starting winger spots. Obviously, whether that's the 5 shirt or what, I think he'll get one of the starting winger spots. Go on Kieran Hudson. They've got an aging pack, Cass, whatever you think of their pack. They've probably got a solid one, but they're getting older. And I think Kieran's going to have to implement himself to bring some youth, to bring some fresh legs onto that team. And then obviously Kane Robb will probably be the 14, i.e. whether he gets that shirt number or not's a different question. But he'll probably be the backup hooker. Milner's now moved into more of a 13 role, I think. So I believe, yeah, Kane will probably be the backup hooker for Cass. So yeah, going on your question, they have to. Yeah, I think they will be. In fact, sorry, I'll reword that. I think they will be heavily involved. Right,
next one, go on. So Mick can answer this one.
Well, I was going to pick one about social media. Is that?
Well then,
yeah. So hello, by Tony Pennington. Hello, great show as always. Thanks, Tony. I was shocked when you said Saints don't put anything on YouTube, and had to look then dismayed at the amount of teams who don't use it. We need to grow the game, and YouTube is one way of doing it. Saints, Huddersfield, Wakefield, Castleford, Foundation does though, don't use it. Lee's new rebrand as a club had one video put on YouTube about it. Salford started not long ago at the time of, obviously I can't fact check this, but Tony said Salford's YouTube channel only has 17 subscribers. I don't know whether that's their official YouTube or not, but that'd be 17 subscribers would be shocking. We need to do better to grow the game, and YouTube does this. He himself filmed Graham Bonnet, ex-Rainbow, singing all night long at a festival and got 9.6k viewers. It's a huge platform and people make millions from it. Yes, they do. And it's so club that so the clubs need to start getting the word out on how good our game is.
Go on, Mick.
Well, yeah, Tony, thanks for supporting the show, the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. You're right, Tony. I wouldn't say it's about clubs making millions or even thousands from it. It's all about exposure. Content drives and delivers and showcases the sport of rugby league. Again, you know, you look at the championship clubs. There's a number of championship clubs that do very well in terms of pre-match interviews, post-match interviews, highlights, full games. And yes, you know, the numbers reflect probably the stature of where those clubs are. But if you're getting 6,000-7,000 views for some highlights, that's 6,000-7,000 people that are being exposed to rugby league and your brand. Surely that is better than this sitting on your ass and putting nothing out. I know I've had an argument with one club official. I know producer Sam overheard some of it last week. And the argument back was, nobody's bothered about YouTube. Nobody's bothered about YouTube. Well, I'm sorry, but that's a load of codswallop. You know, TikTok, YouTube, that is where the next generation of fans are absorbing and engaging in social media. Facebook is a dead duck, sadly. I mean, I know everybody's on Facebook in terms of your parents, your aunties, your uncles, but the youth of today do not use Facebook. The youth of today do not use Twitter. It is YouTube, it is Instagram, it is Snapchat, it is TikTok. I'd implore every single club who's on social media, get on Snapchat, TikTok, get on Instagram, and get on YouTube. You know, if there's something wrong, that a Super League club cannot pay somebody £20,000 a year just to edit highlights of games, do interviews, then listen, IMG, you know, they're going to suddenly realise, Craig, Joe, that they're probably farting in the wind trying to change this sport, sadly, because...
Oh, you don't know that today.
I'm just saying. Does that make sense?
But no. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree with you, Mick. I think the thing that shocks me the most is not only the clubs, but it's the Super League YouTube channel itself don't put hardly any content out, and it's all they put a few player highlight videos on, but that's for other. They don't do any of their own. Oh, we've just lost Mick. It looks like. Mick, are you back?
No, I'm back. I'm having a few.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm listening.
No, all good. Yeah. So the Super League one themselves, they don't do anything. You don't need it. It won't even cost 20,000. It costs less to pay someone to do that. It's not. It blows my mind. If you look at all the other sports, they all have their main brand, their main overreaching company per se that does it. Premier League, NRL, NFL. All of these, the netball, the main brand of the sport, the UFC have got more subscribers than anyone. They all have amazing content going out on their own brand to grow the sport. Our Super League channel puts out player highlight videos, and that's all they do. They don't do any exciting content. They do nothing new, nothing exciting. That is how you grow the sport, getting people to watch the sport in the whole, because then they'll watch more games. They'll watch games that they're not fans of. That's how you get neutrals. Me and my dad spoke about neutrals of the sport who just like watching the sport, who are fans of the sport. I think our sport probably has less neutrals and more just fans of the team than any other sport, because we're that bad at showcasing what we are.
Yeah. Hey, Mick, are you cold there? You keep on shuffling. Are you cold?
Well, it's drizzling. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm just looking up now. The sun's coming out, so I'm a bit wet. But listen,
stay with us, Michael. Stay with us. You know what, Mick? It's weird. It's a weird one, Mick. Lately, I've been watching it. We know me and you historically have beat the drum of subjects, and then a lot of other people take it on. And the journalists take it on, and then the Rugby League take it on, and Super League. I've seen it happen again with this. You know, I've seen last week people picking the dream teams, picking the England squad for 2 years' time. Martin Sadler did it in the Rugby League. And I think a lot of people, when we do these things, we bring things up. I think last night there was a debate on the ins and outs of other teams. You know, I think what we do in highlighting this is brilliant for the game. We highlight things, and then it's, you know how many times we've done it in 2 years, a year, 6 months. I think IMG at the moment to be looking in, Mick, going, are these lads knowing what's coming? And all what you're saying and what we're saying, Mick, you know what's going to happen. You know in 4 months' time, somebody will bring these subjects up and go, well, these were saying it a year ago. These were saying it 6 months ago, exactly what's happened. Yeah,
I'll tell you the next big... not scandal, but the next big discovery in the world of Rugby League is going to be the COVID loan repayments. A number of clubs are absolutely, we're talking high alert on that money that's going to have to be repaid back. Let me tell you, that is going to be the next big thing, because season ticket sales, we know, are down between 20 and 30%. They're going to have to start paying back this COVID loan money. I'm telling you now, Craig, the future's not looking good for a number of clubs. That's just me being honest.
It's weird. It's weird you say that, you know, because I got a COVID loan. I got a COVID loan for Show Me. We all did. And we've been paying that back for like a year and a half. So I wondered if some clubs have not. Are we saying they haven't been paying it back? Because we had to start paying it.
Yes, some of the clubs, not everybody. They've all got different timescale and different repayment plans, because obviously, if you're a multi-million pound business like a Wigan, a St Helens, a Warrington, a Hull FC or a Leeds, you're not like a Dewsbury, a Sheffield, a Batley, a Bradford or an Halifax or a London Broncos. So obviously everybody's on different repayment plans based on the money that they've borrowed. But I'm telling you now, Craig, from what I'm picking up from the chairman, I hope it's not terminal, but I think we're going to see a number of clubs struggle in the coming months and years until this money is repaid. I mean, the RFL were very clear, you know, to start off with, it was a bit ambiguous whether or not this money was going to actually be repaid. But no, they've been told they have to repay it. And you've just got to look at Rugby Union with the HMRC going after the COVID loan repayments, the money not paid to the taxman, the Treasury. You know, it's seen Wasps and Worcester bite the bullet. I'm not saying we're going to see rugby league clubs bite the bullet, but the next big thing to keep an eye on is these COVID loan repayments. Clubs are struggling. Season ticket sales are down. The Sky TV money is down. You know, I was talking to a championship club the other day. I won't name them, but they're getting under £60,000 this coming year in terms of central funding. 2 years ago, they were getting 140,000. So let that sink in. In the space of 2 years, they've been in the championship. They've gone from 140 down to just 60,000. And then you've got to pay back the loans. And then you've got 20 to 30% less season ticket holders. The future's not looking good at all. And perhaps this is where IMG probably think survival of the fittest. You know, we will naturally, hopefully, see those clubs that actually want to be a club and be part of this, you know, thrive and find owners' investment who are happy to put the money in. But as we know, not every Super League club or every Championship or League One club is blessed like a London with David Hughes or Huddersfield with Ken Davey.
Good points, Michael. I'll get straight into it. Second question. So it's Taylor Hitchin, and it's great show, guys. I'm getting that a lot. You know, I think one that I really enjoy watching as a Wigan fan. You probably know what question I'm going to ask. What is the massive news? Oh God, what is the massive news coming out of Wigan? And that is not only good for me, but is it the Morgan Smithies new deal? Well, let me just start with this one. I said on the show probably a month and a half ago, there was some big news coming out of, I meant the new investors at Wigan. I know then a lot of people took it and put it everywhere like this. Next, you know, Owen Farrell's coming, this is coming, that. I don't know where that come from. I meant as a bit of positivity that they've got some new investors, which I spoke to Wigan about and said, oh, great news that you've got some new investors. They thought that was old news and not new. And then, and I said this, I hope I said this right, Mick. I think because we do have a voice in the sport and people, we never get people who admit they watch us. They don't, you know, some of the people within the sport, our lovely followers do, our loyal people. But a lot of the big hitters will watch it non-stop and get their ideas and they don't admit they watch it. What that proved to me was me saying that suddenly went all over rugby league about Wigan's massive news when actually it was just a bit of positivity saying Wigan have got no investors. It's great for the sport. So that's in answer to that. The answer on Morgan Smithies, you know, Morgan Smithies, we will be going into talk with Wigan for it. That's going to stay private. Morgan's a great kid, loves Wigan, you know, wants to. I think, you know, one day maybe good to test his at the highest level, but his dreams at the moment are all with Wigan, with the Super League comp, they're getting into a winning. He wants to win a grand final, wants to get in the dream team, wants to be a man of steel, wants to play for England. He's ambitious as a young lad. He's as tough as they come. And hopefully Wigan people, we can get, you know, the good people at Wigan, they're my friends. But as I say, last time we mentioned this good news, I am never saying that again. I'm never going to say it unless I say it because it just proves that it goes out. I'm going to say there, I think the benefactors at this sport make people, like you said earlier on about the overall thing we got into is that we don't give enough toffee for people like Ken Davey, for people like the guys, the new investment at Wigan. Hull KR of remarkable news. 3 people coming in to help Neil Udgell. I think Adam Pearson, I'm sure Adam Pearson at Hull would like other people to come in and help him. Leeds historically have had Paul Carrick, big guns, Gary Etherington, you know, with his financial clout to keep it. You know, so I think every club, you know, one day we should announce these people and do a show on it and say, look at what these people have done. And, you know, between them, Simon Moran, they could have put the Stewart, who's the now would have helped Simon. He's had to have some help where they've got another guy in Stewart putting money. Some of these guys, Mick, historically could have put 40, 50 million between them into sport, which without them, there is no sport. So again, when we do announce new investment, Mick, we're buzzing about new investment in sport because we can talk about bad news all the time, negative. Then somebody says, oh, by the way, we've got these 3 or 4 investors who are coming in. That should be embraced.
100%, Craig. Again, like you say, where would Huddersfield be without Ken Davey, David Hughes at London, for instance? But yeah, listen, I totally agree. And just a quick one on that. Wigan news, and the Hull KR news, and Bradford recently have had a little bit of investment their way.
Who's this mystery man at Bradford, Mick? Who's the mystery man? No one will tell you who the mystery investor is.
There's no mystery man, Craig. There's no mystery man. We'll see. We'll see. Can I just categorically say this? That everything that Bradford have done so far, Craig, has been within the budget. That there is investment and the money will come. But at this moment in time, everything's been done within the budget. So, again, hats off to Mark Dunning, Brian Noble, Jason Hurst, and Bradford's recruitment strategy.
Yeah, it's so exciting, Mick. Hey, Mick, I know we've had the news. We've got you now quickly but I know we talked about it on Inside of the Deal, but are you happy as a Bradford fan that Keighley, your local derby now, is the Keighley Bradford bigger than Halifax Bradford?
To Keighley, yes, 110%. And I think where you look at where Keighley are compared to Halifax, Keighley have improved tenfold. And I think, you are going to see bigger gates at Cougar Park than down at the Shea next year. And again, this is all about clubs progressing. We saw what Barrow did last year, what Keighley are going to do this year in the Championship. And long may it continue. Because whilst you've got progressive clubs, the overall quality and value to the Championship increases. Listen, Cougar Park, Keighley versus Bradford, Craig, that's one of those games you don't want to miss. There'll be 4,000 or 5,000 there. And listen, if Keighley and Bradford are in that top six going into that game, that is going to be one of the games of the season. And why wouldn't you want to be a part of something special like that? No offence to Super League. It's boring. It's stale. We've got the same fixtures week in, week out. Give the Championship a try. 4,000 at Cougar
Mick, you
Park.
just plugged it better there. That Joe's gone. Yeah, why would fans want to see you? Yeah, come on, Mick. You're with me.
Yeah, I never said negative. Mickey puts words in people's mouths, doesn't he, Mick? He's genius.
Right, are you ready? I've got this on Joe. Go on, Joe, you're away. Next one.
I'm not knocking the Super League. I'm just saying, look, there comes a point where...
So I've got Dawn Kirby.
Where are we?
It's the one that...
Oh, my God. Have you something wrong?
No, I'm just reading... Don't be that rude, that. Dawn Kirby, Hull KR of 61.8k followers. We have Hull KR TV and weekly podcasts. We have Hull Daily Mail that publish stories every evening for both Hull FC and KR. We have our own reporters, KR of Joseph Appleyard. Most importantly, we have appointed chairman Paul Sewell, OBE, James Nichol to the board. And we have made a loss of approximately 650,000. But we purchased our ground last year, which Dawn thinks comes into the equation. I think we are in a good place. Well done, Hull KR.
Well done, Hull KR. Losing Mickey looks at... Can you still hear us, Mick? Put the thumb up. Yeah. It's like we thought.
Yeah, I can hear you. Was that a question to me?
No, I'll carry on, Mick. That were just some great...
I can hear you.
Yeah, I'll carry on. So we've got Rommel, who likes to give me and Arjo a bit of thing. We love him, by the way. Very loyal guy. Question for Craig. Lewis Murphy at Wakey. Can you see him going to Saints, or is all the clubs going to be interested? A quick answer. I think a lot of people would be interested. He's a Wakefield player as it speaks. What he did last year, 19 tries last year for a young man like that was so exciting. For me, the most exciting young talent to come out of, a lot of areas in a long time. We've just been discussing actually his squad number, and we're kind of shocked. Mick, his squad number is?
No, we don't have it. It's not in the squad.
Well, his squad number's not. He's not got a squad number up to 19 so far. What do you think, Mick?
Is lower than 19? Or is higher than 19?
No, it's higher.
Oh. Well, that tells you he's not in that first team thinking then, doesn't it? That's natural.
Yeah, well, Tom Lynham's got the 5. Or the...
I've not seen Wakefield's numbers, but clearly, we know where this is going. Come on, it's not that funny, is it?
Yeah, it is. I've got you right. Go on, Joe, you're on.
And I said, well, that's why you kindly insulted me earlier. I don't have any more questions. There's not more questions,
Okay,
really.
I'll go straight in. So it's George Horner. A question for everybody. Do IMG have a track record of improving sports to show to broadcasters and sponsors, ET2, that their planning will work and has worked before historically? That's to Mick and Joe.
The big, off the top of my head, the two sports that I know they've been involved with strongly, one of them is obviously Endeavour, the parent company, has took over the UFC, purchased the UFC. Since then, I think they're trotting along. I don't think there's been a massive growth in the UFC, but I think that's due to the champions not being as special as someone like Conor. You know what I mean? I think they've lost a lot of big names in the last couple of years, UFC. But I think they do well commercially. I don't think they've massively grown the UFC. They've done a few deals that people weren't happy about, but they've also done some things that people love. So I don't know if you can call the UFC post purchase from Endeavour a massive success. What they have done is they've kept it going, which is amazing. And then the second sport, you'll laugh at this one, is table tennis. The big news out of IMG took over table tennis in Asia, and they turned it into a spectacle. So obviously, table tennis, you're probably laughing. It's a sport.
It's fantastic. Matt Shaw's one of the best players in the country.
Yeah, nice plug for Matt there. But yeah, table tennis, it's not known as a big sport, but I think what the news was that they turned it into a spectacle over there. They added fireworks. They've added all these amazing things to make it more of a fun sport and more fun to watch. They've got, I believe they got a TV deal out of it. So I'd say their big success out of the ones that I know is the table tennis. Mick, you'll probably know more than me.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, Joe, you've hit the nail on the head. They've not really had too much dabbling in terms of what they've actually done, and quite rightly on the UFC front. You know, your Conor McGregor. I'm not sure if he's suspended or retired or what's gone on with him. I'm not a UFC anorak, but you know, that's like the equivalent of the Super League losing a London and certainly a Bradford. You lose the Leeds Bradford derbies, you lose the Wigan Bradford games. So look. The problem IMG have got first and foremost, George, I think George is a Bradford fan, is the need to try and add value to this broadcast deal, because we had it at 40 million. It's now at 24. We've lost 16 million pounds. How on earth do they turn it around? Because the viewing figures have just plateaued. You know, we've not seen a sharp rise in the viewing figures. If anything, we've seen the baseline games actually lose viewers. Yes, your big games, St Helens, Salford Grand Final, Catalan St Helens Grand Final, Saints Leeds again. You know, they still comfortably get over 300,000 people watching those big Grand Final occasions. But, you know, when you're seeing the figures for Wakefield versus Huddersfield, and there's like 70-odd thousand people watching, you know, it was only 4 or 5 years ago, that'd be 160,000 people watching. So, you know, people are switching off. And that ultimately is down to the product on the field. And I can't stress enough, it's the same teams playing each other. Ultimately, it's the same teams playing each other. There's only so many times you want to watch Wigan play Cass or St Helens play Warrington. And IMG, yes, they've said the calendar is going to be shorter because they're removing the Magic Weekend, they're removing the loop fixtures. So we are going to, touch wood, end up with a situation where we aren't going to have the same fixtures on week in, week out. But again, is that going to provide this growth which is necessary for the broadcasters? I'm not so sure. I've got to be honest, Craig. I don't want to be the doom and gloom merchant, but everything I've seen so far from AMG, I'm a little bit sceptical whether or not this is actually going to work. you know, I would have done things a hell of a lot differently than what they've done, because they say it's not licensing. Well, grading to me is licensing, because you are being marked on your finance, your governance, your data, your crowds. That is pretty much what licensing was. I know grading is slightly different in terms of the terminology, but you might as well have just come out and said it's licensing, because, you know, albeit the A clubs are safe, you know, the B clubs are going to have to reapply year on year, which is a form of licensing. But look, I just don't know or can't see how the broadcast deal goes back up to 40 million when we're going to have this year, next year, where we've still got the Magic Weekend and we've still got those loop fixtures. I can't see it. The only hope I've got, Craig and Joe, is the rebrand. We know Super League's going to change. We know Championship's going to change. Something fresh is going to come out, because like IMG said when they did the market research, you know, people even in Leeds and Hull, what does the Super League mean to you? People are saying women's netball, women's football. So yes, Super League has lost its brand awareness. What they come up with. So go on.
No, sorry, go on, pal. Finish your point. Apologise. It's just a bit delayed, isn't it?
No, it's fine. It's fine. You know, like I say, go on, Joe.
Sorry, Mick. I didn't mean to kill your point there. I apologise.
It's fine. It's fine.
I think the one thing they're known for, more than even going into leagues like the table tennis, like the US, I think they're known for obviously brand management of people, of celebrities. We need to see that. I think carrying on from what you put, we need to see that. We need to see the IMG create celebrities. I know it sounds daft saying that about rugby leagues. We're an old school, hard-nosed sport, but I think we need to see them create celebrities out of people who were mentioned on earlier on in time. Jake Connor out of a Lewis Dodd coming up, out of obviously legendary players like James Roby. I think we need to see them create celebrities, and that is what they are best at. I don't have a hit list of the thing. Dad said a couple of weeks ago that they've signed Snoop Dogg. That is what they do more than get leagues. I think they've gone into that now. Their predominant thing was managing and creating celebrity and doing their managing.
Your problem is jumping in there, Joe. Your problem is, you know, we've got a product at the moment where we've mentioned earlier in the show, Will Price, Piers Paul, going to the anybody who's going to be brandable in our game eventually will probably leave to go to the NRL to earn more money. So are they going to be able to keep that next superstar we've been looking to come across? We've got someone we think, Lewis, do you know the lads, Mikey Lewis, who can excite everybody. Your problem is at the moment they've got to stop that. You know, if you want to create a superstar, and I've said this 10 years ago, I'll say it again. Sam Burgess and the Burgesses, if we'd have had a competition with more ambition when they were young men and more ambition around rugby league, they were the best marketing tool that this game's ever seen in the history of it. 4 lads, 2 twins, 4 lads playing for the same team, should have been done at Leeds, should have been done at Bradford, and it would have been the greatest marketing tool we've ever had. They could have rode that for 10 years, you know, and rode that story, and it's amazing. We've never been good at that. No. Let's hope these people are good at it, but historically, we haven't been great at marketing a superstar because we haven't had one at that level. And when we have had, here's one for you both, and I think you'll both agree with this. Kevin Sinfield is now a bigger name personally than the sport.
Yeah.
Kevin's now become, it got announced yesterday, Kevin is the new defensive coach at England Rugby Union. And I seen the comments on it, and it's massive. Everyone's, and we got a bit of footage on Rowan talking about Kevin and what he'll bring to Rugby Union and internationally. I'm like, we even lost Kev. You know, Kevin's been a massive thing for us. We've even lost Kevin to Rugby Union, who they're now using as their marketing tool. So how the effing hell, you know, IMG have got to smell the roses here and come in and say, let's pick these players who are going to be superstars, make sure they're tied up for 5-year contracts within the game and start the process. But at the moment, anybody who they try and do that to might leave in 18 months' time.
Yeah.
You're right, Craig. You're right. You know, you mentioned Will Price, Kai Pearce-Paul. Before that, Dominic Young. Before that, the Burgesses. Listen, we've lost a hell of a lot of young talent to Australia. And what's probably the most heartbreaking thing is, whilst you've persuaded Danny Maguire to stay in the game at Hull Keister Rovers, we have lost Sir Kevin Sinfield. And when is it going to stop? When is it going to stop? Because you would have thought when Andy Farrell, Jason Robinson, Sean Edwards, people who've grown up in the sport of rugby league, sadly, that I'm not saying they've gone chasing the money, but I just think ultimately the professionalism, the standards, and ultimately the money and the finance have played a huge part. But listen, I wish Kevin Sinfield the best of luck. They're going to need it because Eddie Jones has left England Rugby Union in a right mess.
Nice to see Boog with Mick just as you were pulling out of that one. I like that. It's fine. I hope everyone who watches this afterwards apologies for where Mick is at the moment. We keep getting him late and he's moving and we can hear him. We all love him. Oh, it's the cat again. Look. He looks like, what's that programme on James Bond? He looks like that bloke who sat with Catwick.
Goldfinger.
He looks like that criminal, though.
Blofeld. I'll get...
So, Mick, next one. And hey, by the way, Mick, thank you. We know it's freezing there. Ready? Craig, living
like I said to you boys, the only reason I'm not in North Yorkshire. So.
We're losing him again here. Is he there? Robert Hacker. I live in Staffordshire. Love watching rugby league. Never watch rugby union. Top and bottom of the arguments. If they stop promotion relegation, they will lose supporters. Mick?
Oh, all ready to go.
What's the gentleman called? Robert?
Yeah.
Hi, Robert. Yeah. Again, trying to answer this as I can. Promotion and relegation, as we know it, yes, that is coming to an end at the end of 2023. But in terms of clubs being promoted and relegated under this new licensing stroke grading system, that is still going to remain. So, again, as we discussed last week, if you watched the show, and thank you for watching the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. We appreciate your support. Please tell your friends down in the part of the world you're from because, it's not exactly a rugby league heartland, but thank you. But as I discussed last week, there is going to be movement because clubs are going to be graded. And again, I think when this provisional grading comes out, I don't think it's going to come as too much of a shock. A current championship club is going to be ahead of at least one Super League club. So that will mean there will be movement. A Super League club will be coming out of Super League and the championship club will be going into this new competition, the top tier competition. IMG said at the meeting in Manchester to people like myself in the media, they said they don't think there's going to be wholesale changes year on year. The first time it goes live in 24, they're expecting maybe 1, 2. So at most, they're expecting 2 Super League clubs to come out and 2 Championship clubs to come in. But they're not expecting year on year 2 out, 2 in, because the grading is going to be structured in such a way that it won't allow that. Basically, you'll have to tick so many boxes on this grading, get your green tick before you're ahead of the current Super League clubs. But what this does, Robert, is it does give everybody a kick up the backside. But again, going back to what I said earlier at the start of the show, me or Craig, we could have sat down together for an hour and we could have come up with what IMG have come up with. This is what I don't understand. It's very, very frustrating for someone like myself who does sing the RFL praises and will support and openly back the RFL. But this is an admission of failure by the Rugby Football League by having to call in IMG to try and come up with something, a plan, a strategic vision that grows the sport of rugby league, because effectively the Robert Elston years, the Nigel Wood years, the Brian Barwick years, the Richard Lewis years have seen us in the gutter. Super League, let's be honest, it is a shadow of its former self. Times have changed. Are we ever realistically going to go back to Bradford versus Leeds, 25,000 at Hudsall, 25,000 at Headingley? We're probably not. St Helens and Wigan coming out of COVID. crowds under 20,000, unheard of. You know, fans have deserted the game. And if those fans, and I said this to Matt Dwyer at IMG, if we say for one moment, all those fans that have decided, look, we're sick of it, it's stale, we're walking away, are gone for good because of the COVID pandemic, because of financial reasons, cost of living crisis, how are we getting the next generation of fans? Because that is the only way the sport is going to grow, by attracting new faces, new voices, new eyeballs. Because I genuinely feel... Sorry, Craig.
Sorry, Mick, because what we said previously last month about the TikTokers and the YouTubers and the young lads, like we said, like your Prices, like your Pierce Pauls, like your Dodges, like your Mikey Lewis, like your Owen, these young lads should be all over that social media. And if IMG have got anything about them, they need to grab 10 or 12 of them lot and do a separate show and make superstars of these kids. I mean, it's no good now with two of them going to NRL, but I'd pick 10 of the best youngsters out, Morgan Smithies, and I'd go into the home lives. I'd make them do dances, your Corey Halls, your Lewis Murphys. I'd absolutely spend thousands on marketing 20, 15 of the best young players in our comp and just ride it. Absolutely smash YouTube content. You've got to have somebody organising the schedule. Guys, we're picking it up here. We're going to this event. We're going to that event. We're going to be seen at this event. These YouTube concerts, get them to these YouTube, get them everywhere, and then attract the young people. Once they've all got a following of 100,000, whatever, and then bring them back to our game and say, these are our athletes, these are our future of the sport. But they've got to do it now, Mick, because it won't happen in 2 years. Won't happen. They've got to grab them now, because every one of them who do better are going to go NRL. I'll tell you now, that's what's going to happen. They've got to smell. They've got to smell the coffee. They've got to grab them now and say, you've got to get 4 or 5 year deals at your clubs. You've got to get this. And if that means taking the money from centralisation, as they did a couple of years ago, the problem with a couple of years ago, when they grabbed the centralisation money and paid players to stay in the comp, they picked the wrong players. They picked players at different age groups. The clubs used it as a way of getting around the cap of keeping certain players. They didn't use it as the best marketing people. I know what that list is. I'm not going to slag anybody off. I know what the list was. There wasn't a marketable player among them. There were probably 1 or 2 who you might half go, well, build up. You was never going to build brand on them lads. They had ability, they can play, but they're not that type of people. Somebody picked them who wouldn't have gone on TikTok, who wouldn't go on YouTube, who won't be doing things with youngsters, who won't go out there and sell the game. So they've got to get this right. And historically, if what Joe's saying, that they are agents of people, way of promoting Snoop Dogg, way of promoting Russell Crowe, way of promoting all these branding of these people, they need to understand what they've got. They need somebody close to the game who can say to him now, go and get Mikey Lewis, go and get Louis, go and get him now and make these cartoon characters of them. So all the young people know how, get them playing rugby against each other in a different platform like they do football skills. They have a skills program. Get Truman v Mikey v Dodds and get a skills competition and get it out there to 1 million people. But I'm telling you now, I'm with you, Mick, unless they do it quick, we are on broken glass, the song. We are definitely not. And I don't think they've realised the magnitude of where they are. And when it hits them, it'll be like a rock.
Going from what the original question was about relegation being like a cornerstone of English sport, which it is in obviously football, which is our biggest sport. It's completely took over British sports, all that really people ever speak about now. You get darts at New Year, Christmas, and you get the odd people who follow other sports, but it's football. If we don't change, we're dying a slow death anyway. Worst case scenario, it speeds up a death that we're already on the trajectory to do. So worst case scenario, we speed up the death. Best case scenario, we rejuvenate the sport, we let brands grow, we let teams invest in young players because they're not constantly petrified about relegation. We let teams build up their infrastructure, as CAS have now announced on a tweet 10 minutes ago, breaking news, that they're putting money into their ground and stadium and their facilities, as Wakefield have done going into this. That not having relegation allows clubs to do that. We have stagnated as a sport, maybe because of relegation, maybe because the same 3 clubs have won it every year. So there's not enough money, especially in that lower league as well. If a club gets relegated, that's close to financial death for a lot of teams, unless they've got a multi-millionaire owner. So they can't afford to do that. So they've not grown. They've survived. We've got 5 or 6 or 7 clubs who can't win it, who have just survived for 15, 20 years now. And with taking away relegation, that lets these clubs thrive. It lets them grow. It lets them put in infrastructure that they've not improved for 15 years. It lets new fans come to the squad. It lets them invest in young players, which notoriously they haven't done in 10, 15 years. It lets them not bring over a 33-year-old Aussie who's on the last legs. It lets them bring through a Corey Hall or Lewis Murphy if you're Wakefield. It lets them bring through a Mikey. It lets them bring through these players without having the panic of, if it doesn't work out, we're in the bottom league and we have to start completely again.
Yeah, I'd throw in... I was going to say, Joe, I'd also throw in cricket as well, promotion and relegation between the county championship and the second division, and obviously rugby union. But, I've said it enough times. I genuinely say what you get gut feeling is, Joe, that IMG have come in and I don't think they realise how bad it is. And without naming the clubs, when you've got clubs with £6 in the bank after they've paid everybody, they can't afford to go to the local college and they're having to borrow farmers' fields and farmers' barns to do training. I think that paints a very sorry, depressing, but also realistic picture of where rugby league is in 2022. Yes, for every St. Helens who have won it 4 years in a row, for every Wigan and the success that Matty Pete's about to have with them, for the success that's hopefully coming for Rowan Smith and the Leeds Rhinos and their supporters, there is a very bleak and depressing picture of where the sport currently is, Craig and Joe. And I do think IMG, when you talk about players, and your idea, Craig, is fantastic, but I don't think the players themselves can sell the sport. If you're talking about getting Lewis Dodds, Mikey Lewis, Lewis Murphy, all the young players, I think you need to get your Snoop Dogg out. You need to bring your A-list celebrities out to give them that push to get them in that public consciousness, because IMG just doing.
But we can we can do that if they get them on the right shows, if they get them on the right arenas.
I agree.
If these YouTubers are going to have a fight, let's get one of our boxers to have a fight on YouTube thing. Let's call them out. Let's get one of the lads to say, I'll fight him. And let the sport, let him train to a bit of boxing on side. Paul Gallen's become more of a boxing, sports fan over there, made millions now, 10 million, they're saying, our boxing, than he did the game. Let them go and grow. Let's call out Jake Paul, I don't know. Let them young lads grow and get somebody. They need full-time assistants next to them. The game needs to provide these agents who'll say, right, you go in there on Monday, we've got you there on Saturday. They should get paid well to do it on top of the wages, but they should have them at all these events. Who's that lad? What fashion brand are you connected to? Are you connected to this fashion brand? What trainers are you connected to? It needs, they've got the power to do this. That's the scary thing. They've got the power to make 10 people superstars in our game. That will in turn make the clubs bigger, make the game bigger, but they've got to start now. And they've got to get somebody who knows who them 10 players are. For bollocks to politics about it. Everyone's saying, you picked him. Pick the ones who actually can do that, who are prepared to go out there and do it. They've also got to match that on the field, Mick. They've got to be superstars. They've got to be that player, so it needs experts to tell them who their players is. I've got a little one from a guy, Mr. Funny Shoes. Could be you, this, Mick. Just looked up a bit of NFL. Came across the superstar Tom Brady. I think this might be a plug for you, Joe. It might be on your programme, the old maybe Brady didn't mean to sound dismissive, but that is the risk you run when you record weekly podcasts discussing your opponents. So what he's saying is he's come across it, and the NFL have got Brady talking about this, and he seemed a bit bored with it, a bit dismissive. Mick's just fell over coughing and that. You all right, Mick? You drop a pound?
Yeah, I'm dying, guys.
Last one, Mick. Last one. Stay with us. The only point of this are the words.
I wish I was dropping pounds. To be fair, yeah.
The only point of this are the words weekly podcast. Fair enough, some negatives may happen and the occasional row, but attention is attention. In media, it's better to be talked about than not talked about within reason. So what he's actually saying there, guys, Mick and Joe, is that he's watched this Tom Brady thing. Tom Brady's done a preview of the week and he's probably fed up. He's been to 2,000 different ones. We don't even do one of them. Yeah. Don't compare that to us. We don't even do a Monday YouTube Zoom where all the clubs discuss playing against each other, and we don't get that out on promotion. We're that far behind. And when we listen, I'll say it. If it does happen, and we've been saying this on the show about how many things they need to improve, when it does happen and they don't improve, we'll watch this back historically at some of the things that you've said. Why would it not happen? And why are these people not involved? And why don't they do this? Because I know it sounds a bit egotistic, but I sit here in disbelief. We don't still do a Monday thing where we get the coaching, the two players, do it on a Zoom against each other, discussing things. He's just said there, Tom Brady looks bored. I bet you Tom Brady's done 50 interviews for weekend's game.
No, I think they said dismissive. So I think what happened was they were talking about...
He didn't mean to sound too dismissive.
Yeah, exactly. That means that he was talking about his opponents and said either we'll beat them easily or it's I'm better, which it's Tom Brady. I think we're in a sport. We're in a sport where we care. I need to be careful how I word this, but we're in a sport where we care more about like political correctness and no one saying the wrong thing than actually growing the sport.
100%.
We are the most politically correct PC sport out of anyone. We beat them all. There's not one that do everything correct. We do everything correctly, but sadly that doesn't grow the sport. That's for when we are a top sport and we're trying to look good to the major sponsors, the Coca-Colas, the McDonald's. That's for that. We're the most politically correct sport, and we're that bothered about getting someone on and them saying something daft than we are failing as a sport, than we are just failing at a sport. We need to let go of a lot of the stuff because we're ran by a lot of older people who don't get it, who are that petrified by PC, that are that petrified by stuff, that comes above risking things to get more fans because they're that petrified of it because they don't understand the way the modern media, the modern Twitter, the modern social things work. They don't understand it. So they do what's necessary rather than taking a risk, getting people on, letting them say something a bit risque, letting them do that and get it on. With that, it's mind-blowing. We break every PC political correct record there is. We break them all. We're amazing. And obviously there are good parts to it. The wheelchair, the PDRL, the women's game, fantastic. But I'm talking about our men's division. We are that thing where we are that on it where it takes away from a lot of the spice that you can have. Instead of letting them say, we'll beat you, I'm going to tackle you, I'm going to do this. We completely shut a line even close to that. So I think that we have to loosen the things a bit on our men's team here. So
they can force that, Jake. That's great comments. But IMG are here to force that from the RFL and say, when you've got an administration who will actually have to be politically correct because they're drawing money off the government, they're drawing money off areas where they do get the money from, which we have had to do. They've had to do everything right. IMG need to come along and say, we'll take the blame. Let's go. Take the shackles off. Mick, last thoughts on this because you look freezing. Give us your opinion on this to finish us off, and let's have a bit of magic.
He's froze.
What are you laughing at?
Oh, you mean
I haven't.
We're waiting for you. What's your comments on that?
I was just going to say on the Tom Brady point, There were 17-3 up. There were 17-3 up at half-time against Cincinnati, and then they threw it away. So Tom Brady saying they're going to beat Cincinnati easily. Yeah, it's a load of crap, sorry. If I've misheard you, then I apologise.
Anyway,
Seattle
yeah, it's all right.
Lost again.
Listen, Mick, we're gonna let you. Mick, we're gonna let you get off because your chest's going, you're freezing, your thing. But thank you for actually putting in an hour shift for the show. Right, so wrapping up the show, Joe. Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. Again, I'm sorry on the full 80. We keep calling out IMG. Where are you? Where are you, IMG? But again, we'll do it again. Where are you? Please come in. Maybe we're expecting too much of you to save the sport and to put us in a great place. I got a rollicking off the chairman the other day saying, stop saying it. We're all in a good place. We do promote the good things. We have promoted every single bit of good news over the last month that's happened in this sport. But again, we find ourselves probably a little bit worried about what's coming. Somebody's just announced one of the first games back, Wakey, the Boxing Day. The Leeds at Heading Leeds, always a great friendly. Usually it's to show the big signings. Your Alatitis, your Brent Webbs, your new players come in and the crowd gets to see who they are. Let's hope it's a great day at Leeds. And it's usually an indicator how the season's going to go. I think these are about 6,000 on that day. Let's see how many they get. Hopefully we keep it up and we've got 20 or 30 friendlies to go so we can get the show. We're all waiting for the show to come back now. Let's get the season started. But again, please don't do what happened with Robert Elston where we never saw him. Just come out for media interviews once every 3 months when it had to be political, as Joe's rightly said today. The political thing of bringing Robert out and saying the right stuff, then putting him away, and then he'd come back out. We never really got to know the real Robert. We never get to know his feelings on the game. He never once came out and said what he wanted to do with the game, where he should have improved it. He just said, don't talk negative. Do you know when somebody says this, don't talk negative about the game? That's the biggest loadest shite I've ever heard in my life, because to get things to improve, you have to talk about it. You have to highlight what is the negative, what is the weakness. So we do have to talk about that. You can't just bring somebody in and say, everything's good, the garden looks fantastic, veggies growing there, grass is going lovely, blah, blah. And then you come back round and you've got disease, everything's going wrong, but you've talked it up. It's not a mirage. This is people's lives. Yeah. So good luck. Thank you for all bearing with us. We got some of your questions out. We got some topics out, and I thought Mick did a great job in the garden. We had the right dig for an hour, so up the game caller. And by the way, guys, I get told about my son not to give him too many comments. It's his best show to date. He's very passionate about the game. He's one of the young people in the game. And I thought he's talked today. He talked as well as he's ever done. And one day he can wear the crown, just not yet. Over to you for 80.